Thank you, everybody. I will start off with a little bit of a background onto SLUI, the Sustainable Land Use Initiative, and say some thank yous to people that have come before me. Although I'm sitting here talking about what we've achieved, at 2004, when we had the major storm event, we had nothing in place, and we, through a lot of hard work from a lot of people, there was an application written for funding to government, to a government that didn't have a funding application or a funding round open for us, and there was a lot of political manoeuvring from people like our late chairman Gary Murfitt to actually get government on board and give us some money. And out of that arose the Hill Country Erosion Fund, and so we've been, to put it politely, sucking on the teat of government ever since. But it has been absolutely amazing, and it was the hard work of people like Ed Duggan, who was one of our policy planners, Alistair Beveridge, one of our other policy people, and people like Alec Mackay, Andrew Manderson and co, that actually wrote a SLUI program from nothing. So I'm just sitting here telling you what we've done since. And I don't know how much time I've got, so and I was meant to be yesterday, and now I'm today. So I'm working on getting this right. So in February 2004, our region had, and much of the lower North Island, experienced a major rainfall event. The maximum rainfall return periods in the blue there were up to around 150 years, and the resulting erosion was widespread and severe, with an estimated 200 million tonnes of soil lost across our region. Thankfully for us, compared to other major events, no lives were lost. But this talk will look at what that event triggered in our region, which was the Sustainable Land Use Initiative. Some of the slides in my presentation are similar, and in one case the same, to some earlier presentations you've seen. So I'll move through some of these fairly quickly. The impacts of floodwater and siltation resulted in people being displaced, roads, bridges, stock losses, and an economic impact estimated about, in 2004 dollars, at 300 million. These storm images have been much used by Horizons Regional Council and probably others around the country, and are very similar to what you might have seen from Kerry and Alex yesterday. The only interesting thing there is the two bottom right images are the Tararua district from Cyclone Gabriel last year. So we're seeing 20 years on, some similar issues. In 2004, Kevin Rook, land manager for Horizons, presented this slide to NZARM. And he noted that after a big event, there's government assistance, things get put back as they were, and we continue to farm unsustainable hill country. The bottom photo is of a farm track being reinstated with government money to continue farming. He went on to say that significant land use change is needed, and often it doesn't happen, even though the most obvious solution is some sort of tree cover. We won't be seeing that land today, but look at the ranges in the background, we'll be over that side. And that is unconsolidated sand that has major soil slip erosion every time we get a major rainfall event. In actual fact, that property is now in trees, so it's taken a little while since 2004 to get there. Saw this yesterday. We know this has happened in the past. This is Esk Valley in 1938, and Alex showed you this slide. And we know that, this is from Landcare research back after 2004 in our region, that pasture land has much more erosion, roughly by a factor of 10, than forested slopes. At whatever as you go up the slope angle, it gets more and more. We also know from this slide, which is Hawke's Bay in 2011, that trees can reduce the incidence of shallow landslide erosion. That's a pretty simple answer. And that Haotoki storm event was quite isolated, but very severe. Thank you to Chris. I nicked that one from one of your slides, Chris. I've been nicking slides from everywhere today, so if I don't give people their credit, they can come and talk to me later. So what happened? In September 2004, so following our February storm event, we had a community meeting in Palmerston North Horizons boardroom, and SLUI was conceived. The key points up there, as you can see, there were some buzzwords: sustainable land management, mountains to the sea, here we are, mountains to the sea, priorities and targets, farm scale, whole farm plans, and relationships. So some of the challenges for us were the scale and cost meant we needed help to deliver. And any region that gets hit by these events knows that is the case. We needed to find a way to ramp up our progress. Our council thankfully did have a solid core of land management staff who had a pretty good level of respect and trust in the rural community, so we weren't starting from zero base. But we would need to carry out this program over a long time period, and this wasn't really well articulated to some of our politicians in the early years when we were talking about farm plans with a 3 to 5 year work program. And in fact, we'll pass by farm plan number 1 today in 2006 or 7, whenever it started, and they're still working away at a work program. So it wasn't a 3 to 5 year work program, it's a 20-year plus work program. So the basics of SLUI are fairly simple. It's an old-fashioned soil conservation program. So it was a community issue, so everyone pays. It's voluntary, but it's targeted by the land risk and by the work type. We needed good information from our farm plans, and those farm plans were to be free, so there was no barrier for landowners to get involved. They were to be backed by sound science, and we were to measure and report progress. And we were told to get on with the job. So we did. This guy doesn't work for us anymore. And it's not because of that, but anyway, we got on with the job. In 2007, NZARM was held here in Palmerston North, and Don reminded me this morning that I presented. He said I was a bit dusty on the morning that I presented, and I can't remember much of 2007's conference, so maybe he's right. But we were able to present some progress for SLUI. By this stage, we had a central government fund locked into place. We were well into producing farm plans. And you can see the dark blue on those maps were farm plans that had been completed in our region. And the pink, red, whatever, for those of you that are colourblind, whatever other colour that looks like to you, were being implemented. Some people were doing some works program. That was, at that stage, about 98,000 hectares of land mapping in our region of, where's Malcolm? 2.2 million hectares, I think we've got as a region. There was a lot of other stuff we had to do. So being a soil conservation program is one thing, but actually selling it to people and packaging it as something new is a little bit different. So unfortunately or fortunately, the start of the SLUI program coincided with our consultation around the One Plan. And so we had farmers saying, I don't want one of your bloody whole farm, one of your bloody One Plans, when we were trying to sell them whole farm plans. So communication was a key. We needed more staff, both farmer and office staff, and we had to sell the program and make sure we had widespread support from political, rural and urban people. So there was a lot of stuff we did. We had scholarships with Massey University, and me and your MC for today were there with Willie, one of our earlier scholarship receivers, and he was silly enough to still be with us today. But yeah, that was one of the processes. We did a lot of, in the early stages, newsletters to farmers, case studies for farmers. In the middle slide there is how much less tonnes of erosion of sediment would be produced by that farm as he implemented his farm plan. And we did case studies on land use change. So in that particular case study, that was Mānuka, reversion, and forestry on marginal land, and what were the finances like. We did some soft research. I'm a practitioner, I'm a land manager, all this touchy-feely stuff. But Ag Research and Dr. Willie Smith produced a brilliant report for us where they went and interviewed people that were involved with SLUI that had farm plans and a cohort of people that didn't have farm plans and asked them what the hell was going on. And so the reason farmers said they liked SLUI or were involved in it was up there, and that was in rank order. Dollars, we were giving them grant money, and quality advice, and I'd like to think that was our team giving quality advice. Willie went further, and those people that didn't get involved in SLUI actually still thought it was a damn good idea. But they'd chosen not to sign up, and they said their barriers were basically dollars and time. So over time, a lot of those people have actually signed up because we're still here. We did a lot of research and science, or not say we. Some of it was by our internal science team, and some of it was contracted out to some very good external providers. But it was things like, even in the detail of like making sure our database did what it said it would do, and that our farm plans were, and polygons and things were all in the right place. It was the beginnings of SEDNet, and a lot of work through of SEDNet that was done within our region. And on the other scale of things, it was looking at options of different forest types to give farmers options of what they might want to grow in our region. Financially, most of the things pointed to P. radiata. That's the problem, or the good point, or the bad point. We would support or undertake case studies targeted at some of our internal politics. So the one on the left there was actually about our councillors suggesting that these whole farm plans were ruining farm businesses. So an independent report saying, what, if any, have been the changes in the performance of farm businesses that have adopted whole farm plans? We entered into some case studies with our funding partners, and we did more case studies as the drivers or the levers that might get people to make land use changes changed. So in this case, it was using poplars and the ability to claim carbon from open or space planted poplars and willow poles. And anybody who went to Phil Orm's presentations in the workshops will know that there's major opportunities for landowners to do those sorts of things. We presented quite a lot of places and quite a number of times to NZARM, and by a number of people to a number of places to a number of anybody that would listen. And we took opportunities. So there's just a few little bits and pieces there. SEDNet up on the top there. My manager and Shane Carroll, who I'm not sure if we're going to see Shane or Matt today, that's up on the hillside where we're going to go. And out in the really background there in the red, pruning a pole is Rookie. So why that photo opportunity? It was a guy from the New Zealand Geographic who wanted a photo. We won an award at Slogan. I didn't get to collect it, so I don't know why. We presented to people on land use change. What were the economics of it? And we presented things showing what worked and what didn't. And as we've gone on, we've been presenting a little bit more about targeting. We're getting more or better and better at targeting and recognising where we should be going. Excuse me. In 2018, we'd been going 10 years, so we did a SLUI review. It was a little bit internal looking, I will admit, but it is available on our website still, probably because our website doesn't get updated very often. But we noted then that 63% of our works had been on what we were terming our top and high priority land. So we were pretty happy that we were targeting reasonably well. We had some reasonable environmental outcomes, like when the work that we had done had met its maturity, there'd be a sediment reduction of up to 30%. We were suggesting we'd have improvements in visual clarity and a reduction in E. coli in our rivers. That's all very well, but climate change and new NES and freshwater targets actually suggested that there wouldn't be a big enough difference, and at least not fast enough. But SLUI, as what it was planned to do, actually has, we think, met its targets. Some sort of key learnings, so I'm allowed to, because I've been around a long time, I'm allowed to give you the benefit of my wisdom. And you can take it with a grain of salt if you like, but the partnerships with central government has been vital. It gave our politicians and our ratepayers confidence to continue to invest in SLUI. After 2 or 3 years of SLUI, we were receiving actual supportive submissions to our long-term plan from groups like Federated Farmers and non-government NGOs. So we must have been doing something right. They were walking that middle line. Our SLUI advisory group, which was a group of farmers, scientists, people with skin in the game, forestry interests and so forth, has been a strong mechanism to have a wide spectrum of people around the table, and their support helped give confidence to our funding partners and our regional politicians and their rural community. So their job wasn't to make decisions, but it was to advise the direction of SLUI, so that, and because there was councillors sitting on that group, when it went back to the larger council group, the councillors that were already on board could reflect what was good for SLUI. Consistency and longevity. Again, it gave confidence. Our message remains largely unchanged. Our funding is available over multiple years, and our support for works has been tweaked but not radically overhauled in that time. So we're still doing what we said we would do at the start, and farmers who maybe can't do something this year are still able to do something next year. That's what's happened. So 2016 to 2024, orange is the farm plans. I changed colours just to confuse you, or Willie changed colours just to confuse you. And the other colours, reds, well, purples now, yellows and greens are the works programs that have gone on, and we're now up to 680,000 hectares and 60,000 hectares of works. A little bit of a funny graph here, but that's how much work we've done per year by work type. The little line at the bottom is the colour, the leaning of the government that we've had in power at the time. And it goes to show you we started with a red-leaning government, we've had a blue, we've gone red, we've gone blue, but we've been consistently delivering programs. Government have consistently changed the settings for things outside our control, but we're still here and we're still doing things. So we've had things like listing on the side, a whole lot of other stuff that's actually changed the way we can sell land use change to farmers. Manuka honey, carbon farming, AGSs, ETSs, billion trees, you name it. But we've managed to sort of target or use those things to continue to produce a program. Another view of that, where have we put our works? So we know where our works are going by priority and what types of works are going there. We're up to about 31 million trees. I think our chair mentioned that to you today, or yesterday. The problem being the land use change ones, which are the green and yellows on those slides, on an individual farm need to make some sort of economic sense for the landowner. And so the whole farm plans, which were originally sort of designed to sort through the business side of the farm as well as the environmental side, were designed to try and encourage landowners to make those decisions within their farm businesses. So why would a farmer plant pine trees when he doesn't like pine trees? Well, the drivers might be timber or carbon, but those drivers might change over time, but that's what happens. SLUI has cost, nicely done there. SLUI's cost about $133 million to date. Horizons has put in 56 mil, the government about 30, and that's not just HCF, that's the other things that have come into our program, and the farmers have put about 47 million in. Farmers are paying about 50% of the cost of the grant works. They get the farm plans for free. Excuse me. As I said earlier, the storm cost about 300 million to our region, so we're about a third of the way through that expenditure. And we've done about 60,000 hectares of work, so a relatively small proportion of our erosion control hill country has got works on it. But it was a proportion that was supposedly going to show a difference. So to what benefit? This is a quote, I think, from our 2018 report, written by a smarter guy than me, or maybe even written by AI, because it would do a better job than me. So if we've had an impact on the erosion potential of roughly 60,000 hectares of farmland, much of it top and high priority, to what extent have we reduced the direct and off-site impacts we will have on future storm events? And I'm going to leave that one with you to ponder, because hopefully we'll still be going in another 20 years and we'll be able to say we've had a major influence. That's a bit over 2 minutes, but thank you, Willie. Thank you.